Hey, do you guys remember this? Looks like a 15-inch Intel MacBook Pro, but it's a little bigger, and the keyboard looks not as terrible. Where do I remember seeing that? That's right, it's the 2019 16-inch Intel MacBook Pro, and this thing, I think, deserved better. This could have been a really good laptop, but it came at the worst possible time, and I wasted like $3,500 on this thing when almost immediately Apple Silicon came out and kind of rained on the whole parade. So today I want to talk about the 16-inch MacBook Pro and why I think it deserved a lot better. But also I'm kind of mad about it because Apple kind of pulled a little bit of a scumbag move announcing this when they did. But anyway, let's get into it right after a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Basis and their Power Combo Mini Series Compact Detachable Power Strip. These handy little guys use gallium nitride technology to pack a punch, 67 watts of charging power in this tiny package. And the winning feature, it can plug into the included extension cord, allowing for additional outlets, or you can plug it directly into the wall. This unprecedented versatility makes Power Combo the ultimate power companion. It houses 3 USB-C ports, 1 USB-A, and an AC outlet, serving up to 5 devices at once. They even offer a beefy 100-watt version for yet more power, and that means you can charge a 14-inch MacBook Pro 42% in 30 minutes with the 67-watt version, or 54% in 30 minutes with the 100-watt version. And this is all thanks to cutting-edge gallium nitride Gen 6 technology, which can safely power all of your devices. So to check out the Basis Power Combo series, head over to the link in the description down below and use my code to save an additional 10% off of your purchase. A big thanks to Basis for sponsoring, and now let's get back to the video. All right, let's back up a minute and go back to November 2019. That's when the 16-inch MacBook Pro was first announced, and there wasn't any of the usual Apple fanfare. We didn't get a keynote, we didn't get a video about it, we just got a simple press release and Phil Schiller doing a couple of press tours. But even despite that, it was clear that Apple listened to a lot of customers' complaints when they designed this MacBook Pro.
There's some amazing customers out there that do unbelievable work, and I really hope they love this product. The team made it for them.
The footprint got bigger to accommodate the larger display, and it also got a little bit thicker. All of that meant it had a much better cooling system. So even though this thing had the exact same Core i9s as the 15-inch version, it performed noticeably better just because it had better thermal capacity. Apple also spent a ton of time on the audio for this thing. The speakers sound incredible, and the microphone that they put on this thing was so good that Jonathan Morrison recorded an interview with Phil Schiller entirely using that microphone.
So everything you hear out of my mouth, including right now, is from the built-in microphone with this MacBook Pro.
Its larger size also meant that it could have a massive 96 kilowatt hour battery, affording the best battery life of any Intel MacBook. It had a vastly superior graphics architecture. The 2019 15-inch was using basically 2016 generation graphics that had stuck around for far too long. So this new machine absolutely stomped all over the older 15-inch models. And of course, who could forget the single biggest part of this, the new keyboard. This was the light at the end of our tunnel, okay? You gotta understand, 2019 was about 4 years into the abomination that was the butterfly keyboard. There were lawsuits, there were replacement programs, people were getting new laptops left and right. Okay, I don't know about people, but I got 2 entire free MacBooks because of the butterfly keyboard. That's how bad it was. So for the 16-inch MacBook Pro, because it got a little thicker, they gave it a normal, usable keyboard. They broke out the Escape key as a physical button instead of integrating it in the touch bar. So when you put that all together, you get yourself one heck of a MacBook. And I mean, we were all around in 2019, unless you're 4 and watching this video. You probably remember how everyone in 2019 was so sick and tired of the way that Apple was making their devices that this thing seemed like a breath of fresh air. They literally listened to all of our complaints. But within a couple of months, it was completely swept under the rug because, well, we all know what happened.
And now it's time for a huge leap forward for the Mac.
So I and a lot of other 16-inch MacBook Pro customers were in a bit of a pickle at that point, because we had just spent $3,500 big dogs on this laptop, And honestly, I was happy with it, right? The graphics were really good. I'd fire up Boot Camp and play games on here just fine. Final Cut ran pretty well on these things because they had 8-core i9s with Intel QuickSync, and they finally had proper cooling and a proper keyboard. So on the one hand, I was satisfied, but on the other hand, I couldn't help but feel a little shortchanged because just mere months after buying it, Apple's out here talking about, hey, we're doing Apple Silicon, it's the next big thing. And by November, a year after this thing came out, we got M1 MacBooks, and the M1, the least powerful Apple Silicon chip ever, was already nearly as fast as this MacBook Pro right here. 3,500 buckaroos on a laptop that was now being nearly matched by a $700 Mac Mini. And then a year after that, in 2021, the 16-inch MacBook Pro with Apple Silicon comes along. We got a beautiful new design with tiny little bezels on a mini LED ProMotion 120Hz variable refresh rate display. We got an even bigger battery with like twice the battery life because of Apple Silicon, which also meant it had better cooling and you never hear the fans on this thing. It has even better speakers, even better microphone, even better keyboard. It has ports that the 16-inch MacBook Pro never got. It has MagSafe, it has fast charging, and it's like 4 times more powerful. So within 2 years, this MacBook, which I'm sure a lot of very talented people worked very hard on, was basically useless. Okay, well, not like completely useless, obviously, but if you're like me and you spent $3,500 on this thing, I wouldn't blame you if you felt maybe a little bit shortchanged. In fact, right now in 2024, I know several people that still have their 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro. And do you know what all of them say? They say, yeah, I'm still stuck on Intel, but eventually I'm gonna upgrade. And do you know why they say that? It's because they're normal people. They're not like me. They don't buy every single laptop to review. They're gonna buy this for $3,500 and they're gonna use it for 4, 5, 6 years. By which point, we'll be sitting here talking about the new M6 Ultra chip and they'll still be on Intel because they thought, hey, this fixes the problem. Apple hadn't done something like this. There was no reason to think that within 2 years, this thing was going to be so woefully out of date. How out of date, you might ask? Well, here's my base model M2 MacBook Air. I paid $1,100 for this thing. You can find them refurbished for like $800. And well, it is literally identical in its CPU performance to this 8-core i9. I ran Cinebench 2024 and it was literally within 10 points. Like, they are identical. But you know what's not identical? The noise. Because the M2 MacBook Air is fanless and the 16-inch MacBook Pro sounds like this. I mean, it's an Intel MacBook. What do you expect? I was updating this thing, setting it up, running some benchmarks on it for this video, and I mean, just putting it on my lap, browsing Safari, I could hear the fans going, and it started to get pretty toasty. Sometimes we get spoiled by Apple Silicon. If any of you guys watching this have Apple Silicon, try to remember back. Remember when just browsing the web meant having a hot lap? Oh no, it gets worse. I just checked the prices on eBay and people are listing this exact same configuration, which cost me $3,500 for $600. And you know what's crazy? I wouldn't even buy it. I don't think that's worth it. You can get an M1 MacBook Air for that amount of money that's going to be a better experience. Even though this thing has more storage and more RAM and a larger display and dedicated graphics and all of that stuff, I would absolutely pick an M1 MacBook Air over this for the same money any day of the week. What happened to this MacBook Pro is a real shame because, again, I'm sure the team that worked on it worked really, really hard. But really what they were building here was the MacBook Pro that they should have built in 2016 under Johnny Ive. But you'll notice that by the time this thing came out, Johnny was gone. And so we get this thicker design that's more focused on the actual pros that it's marketing to. This laptop is really rare and special because it's a do-over. Apple literally said, sorry, we're gonna do it properly. But they just did it too late. I'm sure in a couple of years when there are certain things that you will need an old Intel MacBook to do, this one, the best of them all, will be waiting for you, and I'm sure at a fairly low price with the way things have been going. But yeah, for those of us in the meantime who spent a ton of money on these things, we kind of just gotta sit here and acknowledge the fact that we got. It's not a bad laptop, it was just not the best time for it. So if you guys found this video helpful, or if you agree with me, leave a comment down below. Of course, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.